Hey, this is Gabe. Welcome back to another video. In this video, we are going to be making a segmented pin. This is going to be my contest pin for year 2022, in case you are watching this from the future. This is sort of what I am drawing out. It's going to be heavily involved. I'm going to be doing a lot of segmenting. I'm going to be using black ebonite. I'm going to be doing a Celtic knot, a lot of dots. For the body, the same thing. So there's just going to be a lot going on in this, and I'm going to be using walnut burl and some briar wood, which is like what you see in pipe smoking, tobacco pipes. I should clarify that. I'm going to be using some black Japanese ebonite, like I said, for the inside. This is all double start. And to save time, I already made all this interior stuff. This is already threaded for the Joe number 6. This is about a 7/8 inch section. 14 millimeter double start for the cap and body. So this is completely sealed so that there won't be any problems with any wood drying out or anything like that. So if you need to see how all that is done, you can refer back to different videos where I show how I make the cap and body. The outside dimension here is a 27 by 64. The inside dimension where this is drilled out is 11/32. That is that hole there all the way down. And then this is based off of 11/32 also, where that is tapped out at 10 by 0.75. The cap, the outside here is 19/32, and then the outside is 7/16. The inside of this right here is 3/8, and the inside of this portion where it's threaded is 14 millimeters. I start with a 1/2 inch drill bit and then clean it out with an 33/64, and then I run my 14 millimeter tap and die on that. So you can refer back to some different videos where I show how I make this, or I'll link one in the description, how I'm making a tapered cap that is, it's a wood and ebonite body of that. Now, just for curiosity, this is a wooden tapered cap, wooden bodied on the outside. You can see the inside, how that was made. And see how it's threaded here. That steps down to 3/8. This is, like I said, the 14 millimeter right there. This goes in there like that, and then that leaves room for the Joe number 6 nib all the way to the inside. So in a nutshell, that's the anatomy of how that breaks down, what you're looking at on the inside of that piece that I just showed you. So if you're not familiar with my segmenting videos, I'm going to be making a few of these pieces of wedges that I use for the scallops, and I'm using my segmenting jig. This is 45 degrees on one side, 60 on the other, and 90. And it works on both sides, and it lines up on 0 on the blade, no matter what slot I put it in. And the bottom design is pretty basic. It's pretty simple. It's just hardboard. These are glued in. This is glued in and screwed. These are screwed in from the bottom for supports. These are screwed. These are locks, hold downs. And in one of my segmenting videos, I show how I make this, and I'll link a video in the description where you can follow the segmenting series to see how this whole jig works. So I'm just going to make a few of these here. I need, let's see, for the cap, I need 2 Wenge and 2 Purple Heart. Same thing, 2 Wenge, 2 Purple Heart, 2 Wenge, 2 Purple Heart. So I need 6 of each, but I'm going to be making 2 blanks in case I mess up on one. So I need 12 of each. So I'm just going to quickly cut these off. I'll show you how I do one, and then I'll just cut. Okay, to show you how to use this jig, I'm going to use some, just a piece of walnut here. I already cut all my Wenge. My camera got hot, which is my phone, and I had to shut down. So while it was cooling off, I just went ahead and cut that. So this is set for 45 degrees, as you can see here, like that. This is going to be, that is cut on 0, and that is going to make this cut right here. So you got the basic concept of how that works. It's just alternating back and forth this way and then that way. So that's how you get those scallops. Okay, so for this project, I'm going to be using, like I said, Purple Heart and Wenge. So I've got plenty enough here for 2 blanks. Okay, so I have some walnut here, 7/8 inch square, and I've got some briarwood 7/8 inch square. So I'm going to start with the cap first, and I'm going to make this part right here with the scallops and the briarwood. So this is going to be one side, and then the opposite side is going to be in Purple Heart, and then the other 2 sides are going to be Wenge. So this is kind of a messed up end, but once I make that cut right there like that, as you can see, that should be all cut off, and it should be quite nice. So I'm going to start from that end right there. Okay, now push that all the way back, and I'm just a little bit proud, so I just want to make another cleanup cut. Okay, so now I'm just going to glue that there. This blank is 7/8 inch square, so this is 1/2 inch, so there's plenty of room for me to glue that on without having to overlap that. And I'm just going to glue that off camera and then come right back. Okay, we have the Wenge glued in place, and I have a piece of plastic in between to differentiate the woods, and this is just some PVC from some leveler vertical blinds that I recycled. 2 of the blinds that I had thrown the rest in the recycle bin, not in the trash, the recycle bin, but I kept 2 of the blinds, and I think I have about 66 inch pieces. So anyway, recycling those and using those instead of buying PVC credit card blanks on Amazon. These are, these are free. So with that one being cut, now we're just going to flip this over this way, cut the other side. Now that is pushed against the stop block. That locks that down. So now this cut here should match up right even in that middle. So now we'll glue that piece up on that side and we'll be right back. Okay, so you can see how that is glued up on there. And then now I'm just going to cut this way using Purple Heart. I'm not even going to trim the ends. Okay, so I've got this done here on both sides. Now you can see that there's a little bit of a blemish on over there, but that's going to be cut off when I do the segment on the other side right here. So I'm just going to put that in the opposite direction, and then this is where I'll put my Purple Heart. So again, that is all the way against the stop. Okay, now that's glued on there and cut. So now what we need to do is just cut that right on that triangle. And that's just going to be just like that in the 90-degree position. And I like to sneak up on that. Okay, now I just need to do that twice more for the cap, and then another 3 times for the next pin blank. So we'll just do the rest of that off camera and we'll come back. And I'm going to cut this down about 3/8 of an inch from here. That's a 1/4 inch, so that's about 3/8 of an inch from the end. So from the end, about 3/8 of an inch should work out perfectly. And then I'll just follow the same theme all the way across. Maybe I'll do a 1/2 inch just to be on the safe side. Okay, now I have both my ends cut, and then I'm just going to cut on each end and make that even, probably a 1/4 of an inch or 3/8 of an inch or so, and then we'll go from there. Okay, let's recap what we've done. This is for the upper part of the cap, which is right here, and I have 2 of these made already. So this is for cap, this is for the first blank, this is for the second blank. This one here, this is for the body right here. This is the upper part, which is, I'm just putting a B there to make it easy to read. So that would be B and B. And then that is briarwood. I messed up. I had made another one of these, but I should have done this one in walnut, not briarwood. So I have to remake this using walnut instead. So I'll do that one off camera, and then I will mark that one as C. So right now I'm just going to cut these 2 pieces off right here, and then we'll come back. Now I'm just going to reverse glue these onto the wood like that, so I can get that right exactly to where I want with the stop block on one side, so that I know that these are perfectly at 90 and they're both the same length. So to save time, I cut 4 of these off camera. This is some aqua pearl that I got from Penn State Industries, and these are about probably 5/16 wide, and I need one for each cap and body, and like I said, I'm making 2 blanks, so I cut 4 of those. So looking at my cap design, I drew these for really shallow scallops, and my 45-degree scallops are much bigger than this, so I have to rethink my design and change it up a bit. So before I cut any of this to length over here, I'm going to make my Celtic knot and then work backwards this way towards over here. So Celtic knot next, and that is going to be over walnut. So I'm going to use maple and walnut for that Celtic knot. Okay, so now we're going to be doing the Celtic knot. I'm set up with my Celtic knot jig, and once we set this to 45, we'll be in business. Make sure there's nothing impeding that. Looks like I'm hitting a little bit. Okay, I have my jig set up, my miter jig set up for 45 degrees. This is the setup that I use for my Celtic knots. I'm using a piece of walnut that's square. If you don't know how to do Celtic knots, this is a step-by-step walkthrough. I see a lot of Celtic knots done on the segmenting, and people don't do a very good job. And I think the reason is because they complete this cut and then they try and glue it back together. What do I mean? They cut this all the way through. It's a through cut. They take 2 pieces, or they cut this into 2 pieces, and then they glue them back together and proceed to carry on through. By the time you end up doing 4 of those cuts, things get misaligned. So the easiest way to combat that is to make a cut like this that is not a through cut. You leave about a 1/16 of an inch. You take your piece of wood, you slide that in there, you glue it in, and then trim it to fit, you know, like that on the edges, and then you work your way around. Make sure this is obviously a little bit thinner than this piece of wood here, so you want to make sure that the wood that you are cutting is sized appropriately for the slot that you are working with. So you may want to test that back and forth a bit. And I have a 7/8 inch piece of wood. This piece of wood right here is sized to the height of that blade. Maybe the blade's a little bit taller than it needs to be, but that's okay. So when I make that one slice, or that one cut into here, what I'm going to do is I'm not just going with 2 pieces of wood. I'm going to actually make a couple of cuts, and I'm going to make this a wider gap that you see right here into something like this instead, so you can see the difference. That way I can put a piece of wood right there like that on the inside, and some these PVC strips on each side of that, and that will give it a better look. So you'll see what I mean as we go, if that's confusing. And this piece is sliced or slotted for that wood. Now, you see how thin that is. Now I want to open up that gap to accommodate the PVC. So I'm going to take a piece of PVC, put that between my stop block, putting that here between my stop block and my piece of wood that I just cut. Now I'm going to mark this 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. So you can see those are marked. So that way I know what order I'm going to be doing them. Before I used to go 1, 2, 3, and then 4. But it looks better if I just go either clockwise or counterclockwise. It doesn't make a difference. So the only reason that number is there is so that I could see it, so that I know that I'm not making a mistake and cutting the wrong end. Okay, as you can see, I've got the maple in there and the 2 pieces of PVC. So we just need to glue that in there. And my method of gluing is very simple. Usually people complain and say that's not very efficient, but I've been doing it like this forever. I just use thin CA, put some drops in there, and let the glue do its work on its own, front and back. Hit it with the accelerator. And I'm going to put a couple more drops in there. That's all I do when it comes to gluing up these things. Nothing earth-shattering. So I'll just repeat that all the way around for this blank and another blank, and then we'll come right back after all that is done. Okay, so this is our first cut here, and you can see what that looks like I showed you. Now that's cleaned up. Our second cut, rotate, there's a 2 here, and I got a 2 here also on the bottom. The blank is shorter because I already finished one, so I figured I'd come back over it. This is what that piece looks like finished. So the second cut, again, with our spacer pieces. Make sure those pieces are tucked all the way in and seated at the bottom. Make sure there's no gaps. There's a little bit of a gap. I'll just have to push that down just a little bit more. What I like to do is take a piece of one of these. There, I can feel that push down all the way. So that looks better. Again, I'll just put some CA on there. Okay, at my miniature bandsaw, I've got a metal cutting blade in here just because I like using the metal cutting blade for many other things, and it works good for cutting stuff like this and wood. Well, it's actually a bimetal blade. And then I'll just take this to the disc sander and sand that flat. Okay, so that is number 1 and number 2, and you can see what that looks like. It's starting to take shape. So we just rotate over to number 3, and then we do the same thing. All right, so we've got all 4 sides done here of the Celtic knot, and as you can see, those aren't through cuts. That's why it looks like Z's, so to speak. So because this is much larger than I want it to be on the cap, now I know when I turn this down, it's going to be much smaller, so I'm not too concerned about that. So I'm just going to trim off about a 1/16 from a 1/16 of an edge, 1/8 of an inch from that edge right there on both sides, and then I'm going to use that in my cap. All right, so that's perfect right there. And then we'll see what this looks like. Okay, now we've got a few of the components made here for the cap. We've got this part right here, the middle part right here, the Celtic knot. I need to put some dots in the ebonite, and I need to make a sleeve for that, and then put the dots in there. And to do that, I have some 18 millimeter ebonite. Drilling out. Then I have a hole drilled with a 19 30-seconds drill bit. I'm just going to clean it up again because it's been a long time since I've done this. Bottom. Didn't have that tight, obviously. Not tight enough, rather. Okay, so that's 19 30-seconds. And this is going to go over this right here like that. So that's a little bit tight. I need to just clean this up a little bit in order to get that to fit, which is no big deal. And then once I get this done, I'm going to have to trim this down a little bit more. This is going to be a decorative ring. I'm going to chuck this back in here, put in a line, and then I'm going to use that line. I'll show you what I mean here in just a second. Okay, the outside of this has already been faced. So using the tip, this is just my reference line all the way around. And I didn't make that very deep, just deep enough so I could see what that is when I get it in the drill press. So I'm not going to cut this off or anything yet. I want this whole length here for support. And then I'm going to draw 8 marks where it's even all the way around. Okay, I'm going to be using this homemade jig of mine. It's like a segmenting disc. I can't think of what they're called offhand, but I use this for different lines and whatnot. And on the back I have a sanding disc also. This was before I made this right here. This gets threaded on, seats against the back of this, and then this gets seated on there. Okay, what I've just done is I've just drawn some numbers on every one of these corresponding lines with a cross line here. I have several different lines on there for different marks, but you can see this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Again, starts over at 1. So there's a line here, and this is just a stick, and it's held in place with a spring clamp. So I'm just going to rotate this to the first line here with my tool rest right there. All right, my tool rest is almost touching that right there, so I know that this is on number 1. I'm just going to throw a little line right there. Rotate this to number 2. Oops, you know what? I was on the wrong line. Wasn't I? That was number 8. So we'll say that was number 1. So anyway, we'll say, okay, so that's number 1. That's number 2. Three. And that's where we started. All right, you can see those lines there and see how that looks. Now, I should have made those a little bit longer, so I'm going to go ahead and redo that and make those lines longer so that I can just do a couple of these at one time. Okay, at the drill press, I'm using this plug starter to start my holes. And you can see how I'm doing that before I actually start drilling them. That way my drill bit is lined up correctly. Once I start to drill all the way through, I'm taking a visual from this way first to make sure I'm plumb up and down before I look this direction here, before I start that. It's not bad. There's like one of them that's off, but I'll have to redo that. So I'm just taking my rounded toothpicks, stick a little bit in that hole, make sure it goes all the way through. Taking my cross cutters, little snip, push that in there. Work my way around. That's all there is to it. And then I will just take some thin CA and then put that, pour it right on top of it, let it soak in for a second, and then hit it with the activator. And then once that is done, I'll do that a couple of times. Then I can just drill out the inside and that will be flush. And then we're good to go. This took about 3 toothpicks to do 2 rows. So this is going to be for the the cap, the top for the first blank and the second blank. And then I need to do just a solid piece for the end of the cap. And then for the body, I need to do this 3 more times. So 4 more times altogether. And then we'll start putting all of our components together. And then so far we've done a lot of work, but it's coming together nicely. Okay, put some thin CA on top of that. And it seeped through really good on the inside. Spray it on the inside also. And that's all there is to it. Now we'll just drill out the inside.
Now I'm just going to take a parting tool and then just knock all those tips off.
Alright, so I got those parted off, and you can see what that looks like. Those look pretty good. They look like little bitty baby rings. And you can see how that would go over just like that. So now I've got my brass rings. These are cut to 19/32, drilled out. So that's got to go on like that. Here, and then another one on the outside. But before I can do that, I just need to cut these out like that on the bandsaw all the way around so that I can make that a lot easier to turn down. Okay, so at the disc sander, after I drilled those out and I relieved the edges, I cleaned up this and shaped it down to where it's just a little bit bigger than that, like that. So these little homemade brass beauty rings, that's going to slide over like that. That goes over. And then that's going to go over top. You can see how much bigger that is. And with the carbide tool, that will turn off really quickly. Okay, now I'm going to take this segmented piece. That goes on like that. Then now we need to work from here over. Okay, welcome back. It's been a long day of working on all the little details here. About a half a day working on this. And a couple mistakes. One of the other ones that I was working on, that one blew apart on me. So the second one that I made, that is the one I'm going to end up using. So anyway, we'll just have to work around this on my second blank. So that's just the way it goes. Okay, so these are the rest of our components that we need to finish the cap. So this is my little detail ring right here. This is cut to the inside right here, drilled out to that. This is drilled out at 19/32. So I step drilled the inside down 19/32 on this side over here. This is drilled out to this. This is drilled out to 7/16, and I drilled it from both sides. I started drilling it from this side first. That way it wouldn't blow out once I cleared it all the way through. So that is going to go on there. And it stops right there. Seeing that this is already has the white veneer, or the, not veneer, white PVC. That's going to go on like that. Off camera I had also made another one of these, and I put a tenon on this, which is going to go on like that. And being that this is a little long, this is going to set on the inside right there like that. So that is the whole cap. Now the fun part is making sure everything is in alignment, and I spent some time with channel locks holding the very tip right here, turning this and turning this. That's using 2 pairs to make sure that this is in line right here. And then before I glue it up, I'm going to make sure that this little piece right here is in line, or as close as I can get it from here to here, those dots. So then I'm just going to clamp it up. I'm going to flood the blank with some thin CA, and then all the components of the cap are ready to go. Okay, now that looks as good as I can get it. So I'm just going to put some thin CA. I'll hit it with a little activator now. Okay, this is what our cap looks like, and I relieved all 4 corners so I can start turning without hopefully any blowout. And see, this is the end, this is the top of the cap right here. So a lot of work to get to this point, but the next part will be to make the body. All right, we're back. Now this is basically all the components that we need to build the body. Everything that we've done, we've pretty much done in duplicate on the first part of the video that I showed you about, and some things I did all this off screen, which are making these brass rings here from sheet brass. Remember, we're starting off with the body. The outside diameter here is 27/64, and it doesn't look like much, but this is a lot of work to get to this point. So this is several days in the making, but because I'm also doing 2 of everything. So with that in mind, this is what it's going to look like. Now this is the body cap thread right here, and let's deconstruct this real quick. Okay, so again, the brass, this is the beauty ring that we made with the maple toothpicks or maple dots. I'm putting a PVC sheet right there. This is briarwood PVC sheet. I want to use another one of the dot sleeves, maple dot sleeves. Another piece of PVC. This is the segmented briarwood. Also, another PVC sleeve. This is that acrylic. Another PVC. And this is the other segmented piece right here. And this has got a little divot on the inside. So the tail piece with another brass beauty ring. And then that is just going to go in there like that. Now, I don't know if you can see it or not, but there is a little mark I got right there, and that is what's going to correspond to keep everything in line from the top to the bottom. So what I want to do is just thread this in right here. And I just want to hold that in place. Now I need to find my line again. And it's right there. A little difficult to see, but I'm going to spin some of these dots around where I can line that up. Like that's lined up right there. It doesn't really matter how the rest of it is lined up, because once all that gets turned down, that will line up correctly. I just got to make sure all the dots are lined up, and then of course the segments are lined up. So I'll line this up and then we'll come right back. Okay, I got that lined up as good as I can from this point on. I'm all the way across where it looks pretty even to me. So now all I got to do is just flood that blank with some thin CA like we did before, and then hit it with some accelerator, and then we can start turning the body and the cap. Remember, I'm using thin CA. I don't have the tailstock tightened up. It's kind of loose, but holding everything together. And again, wax paper on the bottom. I want that thin CA to get in there and do its magic. Okay, now just tighten it up a little bit. And you can see the chemical reaction, all that smoke coming off of that. And make sure you're doing this in a well-ventilated area, because it really burns or irritates your eyes. All right, it's been a long video to get to this point so far. And you can see how good that cap looks. And this is the body that we just assembled. And of course I relieved those edges. And if we assemble it, remember this is a 2-start. So I just got to fine tune that fit a little bit. But in reality, it's going to line up like that. And anyway, that is what that is going to look like. So I hope you like this. And in the next video, we will continue and we will turn it all down. So if you like it, give us a thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed, please consider subscribing. Thank you very much. Hey, this is Gabriel Castro. Thanks for watching my YouTube channel. You can click on the link right here and subscribe. You can watch a video series right here or the latest video right here.